This is Michaela Cagle on concussions. What is a concussion? A concussion is an injury to your brain that affects the brain along with some of its tasks. Some of these tasks consist of memory, balance, concentration, judgment, and coordination. In the right lower corner, you can see how a concussion happens. A force in this case hits someone in the front of the head, causing the head to jolt back and the brain to hit the skull. Some of the symptoms that people have with concussions is a loss of balance or coordination, lightheadedness, ringing in ears, blurred vision, confusion, and fainting. Some of the causes consist of sudden violent jolt, blow to the head, a severe jarring or shaking, or abruptly coming to a stop. A concussion is usually caused by a sudden violent jolt to the brain. This force can cause stretching and tearing to the brain and soft tissue that supports it. Our patient is Jerome, who is a 16-year-old wide receiver for his school's flag football team. Another player illegally tackled Jerome, causing him to hit his head hard on the ground. Jerome tried to stand up soon after and fell back to the ground. He complained of lightheadedness and that his head was hurting. Soon after he was rushed, we began by observing Jerome's head. There were no bumps on his head, and so then we moved on to asking him questions about the event. After he told us his side of the story, we then asked his mom, who was also at the game, did she agree with what he said. She said that he left out the part about him fainting. He then said that the situation was somewhat foggy. We had Jerome take the impact test, which is the immediate post-concussion assessment and cognitive testing. After the test, we compared it to his baseline test that was taken before the season started. Jerome's post-injury test showed a significantly lower score than his baseline test. We also conducted a CAT scan to make sure there was no bleeding in the brain. Because of Jerome's fogginess, fainting at the scene, and the low score of his post-injury tests, I have concluded that he has a concussion. The CAT scan showed no bleeding in the brain. So moving forward, we want Jerome to refrain from physical activity and sports because his score dropped so low. The brain will heal on its own with rest. In school, he needs to limit his participation in mentally demanding tasks. Doing this will allow for faster recovery, but will not affect his overall recovery. He can resume activities once he comes back and takes the impact again. In order to prevent concussions, we want to always use seatbelts, shoulder harnesses, and child safety seats when traveling in vehicles. We also want to wear helmets when participating in activities like riding on a bike or motorcycle, playing a contact sport using skates, scooters, and skateboards, catching, batting, or running bases, and riding a horse, or skiing and snowboarding. Thank you.